3, 2.
I got everybody pregnant with Barry Katz and semen.
I'm not comfortable with the tone this is taking.
If you're undeniable, you will not be denied.
If you want to be successful in show business, you get yourself a Jew white manager like Barry Katz.
Being a manager is just turning no's into yeses.
Creating holy shit moments. Undeniable.
You're fucking firing me up, Katz.
I love this man.
Is there anything else I should know?
You're on. What? Now I'm on the air.
Barry Katz.
Back in the house. Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest today. What an honor, Katherine Blanford.
That's very sweet. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you. I feel like this is going to be very intense and very microwavable. So I'm going to start right off and ask you about this because you are a rare breed of artists these days in this world, in the sense that a late night show, unbelievably, in the 2020s, and even some could say the 2010s, career was rocket-fueled by a late-night set on The Tonight Show or any late-night show, and you could count those people on half a hand in the past 10 years, and you're one of them. So in your mind, when you self-evaluate and you say to yourself, okay, I've seen a lot of these late-night sets that comedians do. I've seen sets where when I'm alone, I think that person did better than me, but they didn't get the bump. And there's somebody who did as well as me, and they didn't get the bump. And there's somebody who did poorer than me and didn't get the bump. In your mind, when you self-evaluate, what is it that you did on that show to make the world say, I want to go see Katherine Blanford, and I want to pay top dollar to do that all across the country?
I think I was... You know what it was? The only thing I know in my head, I was laughing at myself in my head. I remember even I was walking out, I was going, oh, when are they going to figure out that I've fallen through the cracks? I was like, I shouldn't be here. And I think I was just... It was almost like, to me, it was almost like a dream, an actual dream. I was like, I cannot believe this is happening. The way it happened was like so many things, the stars aligned so perfectly for me to be there that I was just, it was like, I just think I just had fun. I think there was a little bit of...
How did the stars align?
So I had some clips kind of go viral. I just did a Don't Tell set, and those went viral. And then people started calling me like to talk about management. I mean, I was still nannying full time, like nannying while the kids are napping, like taking meetings. And I would have people reach out to me, and I would text my friend who ran a club and been like, who is this person? A manager, an agent. And then she'd tell me, and I go, by the way, what's the difference? Like, I still had no idea. And then I was told to hold off on management sign with somebody until JFL New Faces, because I was told I was on the short list, right, for getting New Faces. And then I got a call that I didn't get New Faces before they announced it, and I immediately called my managers I was going to go with and said, let's do it. And then I think JFL was happening, or like the week before it was happening, and thank God I got the no, because as soon as I signed with my managers, I started working with them, Joe Malash was at the Tonight Show for Pete Lee. He was doing a set, and while he was there, he was talking to Michael Cox, and he had just gotten a call that the band had dropped out that was on Joe Coy's episode. And he was like, so there was the performance slot had opened up, and he was like, I just signed a girl. Would you consider her? And Michael Cox had never heard of me, never, called the manager at Laughing Skull Lounge when I was in Atlanta, and was like, do you know who this Katherine Blanford girl is? And he was like, yeah, she's great. And then so I got a text from Joe to get a set together on Thursday. By Saturday, I had just typed up a set, I hadn't even sent one in. I just typed up the transcript. And sent it to him Sunday. He gave me notes back Sunday night. I retaped it, and by Monday it was approved by the lawyers. I almost hesitate when I say that because I'm like, I feel like a lot of people are gonna get pissed when they hear that. But so I genuinely was like, by the time I'd got there, I was like, no way, this is happening. It was like too many things very quickly were like boom, 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 boom for it to happen, to the point where I was just, maybe there wasn't enough time to be super nervous about it and to just enjoy it and have fun.
And I think our audience should know these players. Michael Cox is the talent booker for the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Joe Maloche, an extraordinary manager who works with Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias, and Joe Coy. And you might think that somebody of that ilk who represents such great people can just say to Michael Cox, listen, you're putting her on the show whether you like it or not.
No.
And that's it. And you think because you have a great manager that you're going to get on the show. But believe it or not, people don't like it when you exert your power on them.
Really?
And so they want to well, if you exert your power on them, they like that. But the point being is, for Joe, he's got to navigate, and he's got to be in a situation to put the artist in a position to win, but then the artist still has to win. Mm-hmm. The artist still has to get the attention and get the shot, because Michael Cox is only as good as his last person he put on the show. And if he puts somebody on the show that bombs, I guarantee you that Jimmy Fallon or somebody is going to walk back and say, Michael, what the why did you book that person? They haven't even done anything or whatever.
Yeah.
So you made him look like a hero. You made your manager look like a hero, and you made yourself look like a hero. And then the rest is history.
I think there's something about the first few times you do something, though, that are just, there's like everything to gain, nothing to lose, because I'm still at the bottom. So there's like an energy to that.
You're still at the bottom, but this is something else I want to cover. So what happens is, when you're Katherine, mm-hmm. and you do such an extraordinary job, and things go crazy, and people want to hire her all over the country and pay her money that she doesn't make from nannying, mm-hmm. Even when you're going in for the first time at a club, once she has that cachet behind her, she's not just going in for a flat fee. She's going in for percentages. So she's going to get her guarantee, but then if she does better than that, she's going to make percentages, and the better she does, the more money she makes. And it turns out, when you're young and you're doing these things, you can make double, triple the money that your guarantee is, and even the guarantee that she got, she's like, that's the guarantee?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm happy with the guarantee. And I was just having a conversation with Brad Williams, and he does a great impression of me shitting on me. He was telling me how when we did his first door deal at an improv, and I think he made like $12,000. This is like God knows how many years ago. It was on which night it was on, I don't know what it was. And he was just like, oh God, if I could ever make this every night I'd go on, this would be like amazing. And
yeah.
And he does the impression of me where I just said, you're going to be, if you make that you're going to be like so unhappy in the world. You're going to have so much more money than that, and so much that amount of money, you wouldn't even leave the house to go to the store for that kind of money. And it's the same with you and what you did, which I want to share with the audience also, because this is important. When you do a great job on something, you think to yourself, oh man, let me celebrate this. This is wonderful. And then Michael Cox comes over and he comes into the dressing room and he says, Katherine, that was amazing, wonderful. We're gonna have you back.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, I gotta recreate this. I gotta do this again. Mm-hmm. And you did.
That's very nice. Thank you. It was weird. It was kind of like it was fun to walk in again and be like, okay, I know this. I feel like I'm at a different place. I'm not everything to gain, nothing to lose. All of a sudden I know what I'm doing, and I know what I want to do now. I'm not just like throwing darts and hoping one sticks. It was so cool to go back.
At the risk of getting canceled,
Please.
I want you to share with our audience.
Yeah. Oh, you're putting me in the cancel spot.
No, I'm going to get
Okay.
canceled by saying this. I want you to share with the audience the navigation of being a woman who walks into the room, and when they walk in the room, they take the room. And there's a lot of men in this business. There's a lot of male comedians in this business. How do you navigate being that person who you know what you do when you walk in a room that gets people in the room attention through your personality, through your jokes, through your style? And how do you navigate with a lot of these people who you know are very challenging?
I think what I've enjoyed, because I don't want to feel, I think I've seen other people do it and I don't want to feel like that, is I just try and I try and be a human and find the human in everybody else. I think I'd rather have a conversation about someone's hamster than what they're doing on the road right now, kind of thing. And I think it puts everybody's guard down, and then it lets I have fun doing that, and then people get to talk about their weird whatever things that are not business and etc. And I don't know, it keeps you like interacting with another human being instead of like playing this like industry like one-up game where you're pretending to be friendly but you're just kind of both bragging back and forth with each other. I a lot of times also I have to kind of tell myself to simmer down now because I want
that is a Sherry O'Terry Saturday Night Live reference.
Yes, I do it so I get so excited. I want to be part of the conversation, but sometimes I'm like, Katherine, this isn't your show, and you have to remember it's other people's show. I just, I get to open up for Spade, and we were in Charleston, and we're in a room with him, and Danny McBride came and visited, and Adam Devine was there, and it was very much one of those situations where I wanted to talk a lot and share, but I was like, this isn't your show right now, Katherine. This is their show. Simmer down now and just be a little sponge and take it in. Because I think it is, so I am the only woman. I mean, a lot of times, every female comic knows, a lot of times you're the only woman in the room. And so it's, I think it's just jarring a lot of times to be a different point of view from what a lot of dudes are hearing in circles and green rooms. But I sometimes I don't really, I've never, when people are like, what's it like to be a woman in comedy? Sometimes I'm like, I kind of like being the only woman because you stick out. And I sometimes I've always been like, well, on a lineup, if they have to have one woman, at least you get a shot to be a woman. At least they have to have a woman sometimes now. I've never really minded it.
Awesome. And I wanted you to talk about this, which is challenging. You're a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not a rapid laughs per minute, joke per minute person. Mm-hmm. You're a storyteller. And you get people invested in the story, and they're in, and they're laughing, and whatever. And then there's that last line that's just like that Mike Tyson uppercut. Mm-hmm. Are there comedians you watch, and you're like, do sometimes the voices in your head get down on you and say, God damn it, that person has a style that's different than mine, and I notice that, even whether they get more respect than me or less, I notice something about them that I don't do or I can't do. Or do you think to yourself, like, I'd like to try that once in a while? Or do you say, hey, listen, then I get out of my lane and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with what I do? Or how do you feel about that when you see somebody like that?
Yeah, I mean, every day. Like, even lately it's been, I think, because of the Brady roast, and then I've gone to the store and just watched so many roast battles because it's the complete opposite of how I write. I am very storytelling and kind of like to, find the, I don't know, psychology behind the story. And it's not very word economy. I'm not keeping word economy in the back of my mind. And I'm so impressed by those roast joke writers and how clever they are. And I have, or like political comics, like comics that just like Sam Morril, when he walks out, he's got a new bit about something that was on the news 2 days ago. It's so impressive to me because it's definitely different than what I do. But then I'm like, well, I don't. Then if I try and be them, then I'm diminishing like what I'm bringing to the toy. Like, you know, if one of my favorites is old school Ellen DeGeneres. But if Ellen tried to be Joan, then we wouldn't have Ellen. We would just have a weaker version of Joan.
So fantastic. And you talked about Sam Morril, who, again, an extraordinary talent, and the premises and the punchlines, if you can call them punchlines, I don't know, but it's just, he's like a storyteller, but the punchlines are actual real life. They feel like real life statements of people as things happen, whether they're going back in history to the concentration camps to something else. It's just, I've always been really, really impressed with him, and he's got that great voice. Mm-hmm. But the thing that he probably, I don't know if he were sitting here, if he'd kill me or not or whatever, but like normally lovable and huggable win the race, and on the graph of lovable and huggable, you're like, at the far end of the graph.
I'm Sunshine Bear.
Yeah, and where like you can't imagine, you're either the greatest actress in the world, but there's just normally comedians, at best, the darkness and the light are smashed together and they're fighting it out, and the light is winning to the point here where the audience can't tell that whatever. But you are just like, on the other side. And Sam has that thing where you feel the darkness, you feel the conflict that fuels his comedy, unless it's just something that's organically natural. But I don't know him like other people know him, but to me, like when I watch him, it's like there's no way you can write this kind of material and not have gone through some shit in your life.
Do you feel like, because I wonder, because you've been in the biz, do you feel like there's a space for that now and an audience for that? Because back in the day, it was more like every audience was the same audience watching a sitcom on ABC, where like the family was going, and you, not necessarily clean humor, but like you expected this level of like upbeat energy or joke style, versus now, because audiences, you could build an audience from YouTube or TikTok or Reddit or whatever else and be kind of a dark comic, and so you draw an audience that's not also a fan of Frasier and Friends, but they like the dark because they're watching dark stuff on YouTube, and so now the audience is expecting, they're more open to like just a dark character on stage. The
world speaks.
Yeah.
The world tells you what they want to see and what they don't want to see. I mean, I think I hope he would agree with this. Tony Hinchcliffe is, you know, one of the biggest comedy stars in the world, and I think he leans on the lane of like, I don't care whether you like me or not. I'm just gonna be who I am and say what I want. Sometimes I'll say something even farther than what I want, and that's what the audience comes for him. And the audience comes to see you for the light, you know. They come to see you for like, hey, listen, tonight I don't want to listen to the darkness. Tony and Sam and you all have charisma.
Yeah.
Now Sam has a different kind of charisma. It's kind of that. Hey everybody, it's Barry Katz, and I wanted to talk to you about Blueprint for Success. This is a community that I put together during the pandemic to help all artists of every walk of life in the entertainment business. No matter where you are in that part of this journey, it's designed to help you. There are podcasts with people that will inspire you, like Kevin Hart, Judd Apatow, Bill Burr, that you can't find anywhere else but on this program that I've interviewed, to times where we get to talk to executives in the business that you would never have access to tell you what you need to hear and to answer your questions, to all sorts of different videos and master classes designed to help you get to the promised land. That's what the Blueprint for Success is. Doesn't matter whether you want to be a stand-up comedian, a sketch performer, a podcaster, an actor, an actress, director, writer, social media person, whatever you want to be. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've had the honor and been humbled to represent people like Chappelle, Wanda Sykes, Louis C.K., Dane Cook, and probably over 20 other people who went from a studio apartment to being a multi-millionaire and a household name. And I want that for you, and I wanted to take the time with this program to be able to help you on your way there, to get there and to heighten and increase the trajectory of your career. Blueprint for Success is the way to go. I'm proud to be a part of this program, and I'd be proud to have you to be a part of it too. That guy who you kind of like, you don't probably want to run up on the stage, necessarily hug him after the bit, but you're like, I am riveted to the way this guy presents the material and how his voice and how he says it. And Tony could say the toughest thing or the most brutal thing, but that wry smile, it's like that. It's almost like, you know, Jay Moore in a lot of acting roles. He was always the lovable asshole. And, you know, and you can be that, and if you still have charisma, you can still power through. And I think that's amazing how it is. And so I think you're like a breath of fresh air for a lot of people who want to just, you know, they don't want to hear politics. They don't want to hear people shitting on them. Or at least for that night, you know. It's Katherine. It's like, if we could just be so bold when it comes to food. You know, there's nights where you want to eat Italian food. There's nights when you want to eat Chinese. There's nights when you want to have a burger and fries. And so just because somebody is dying to come see you that one night doesn't mean they're not going to go see Bill Maher the next night.
Yeah.
Or they're not going to see Chappelle doing a political set somewhere else. It's like you can taste different pieces of comedy and still love it. And so that's the way it is. I want to ask you more questions if you don't mind.
Please do. The funny thing is I've never saw myself as like the positive. I guess I kind of am, which is funny because
your lane is all positive. It's
so funny. I've never pitted myself like that, but does.
Your lane is positive, but also, if I could be so bold, it's this weird. You embrace self-deprecation and positivity, which normally technically shouldn't go together.
It's an oxymoron.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, when you're self-deprecating, it tells the world that, hey, I'm not good enough. But at the end of the day, your stories, even though you kind of downplay yourself a little bit that I'm not really here, or you have this innocent thing where this naivete where it's like, I didn't really understand this. But at the end of each story, you always seem to get your comeuppance. And
Yeah.
you always seem to somehow survive. It's like these bits are like mini sitcoms.
I think, yeah, you're right. I think, yeah, I think it comes from, I don't know, middle class upbringing and just being, it wasn't a dark childhood. Pretty middle class childhood when you just wanted to, I don't know, be pleasant. Probably.
Probably.
Yeah. Wasn't
So you
that
had a
dark.
happy childhood.
It was super middle class. It was very just easy and decent. Sometimes I wish it was darker.
And what was your first inspiration of getting into this business?
I just wanted to try it. It was just a bucket list item. I took a class.
But was there comedy specials that you saw that inspired you?
It was so funny. I've said this is an insecurity. So middle class in the fact that I didn't grow up with any culture. My parents didn't show me specials or even TV shows or comedians. We were outside doing yard work and riding bikes, and we didn't even watch that much TV. So when I started, my favorite, I mean, they're greats, but they were the most mainstream. It was Dane Cook, Aziz, and Kevin Hart. Like, it wasn't, like, I remember when somebody at one point was like, who's your favorite comedian? And they said Pete Holmes. And I was like, yeah, I love Pete. And then I went home and immediately Googled Pete. And then his telemarketer bit is still one of my favorite bits. And then my favorite comedian to this day is Tig Notaro. I'm obsessed with her. She's the only one that makes me keel over laughing. And but I learned it as I was starting.
What's interesting, if you look at all those comedians on the scale of huggability, lovability, darkness, not darkness, you've gone the gamut.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
You've gone to eat at many restaurants.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love it all though. It's so fun. Like I love Tig and I love Cat Williams. Like it's two completely different comics. But it was fun when I started. I was literally exposing myself to the core of it when I started, as I was learning how to write.
Let's talk about the learning how to write. How long did it take you to find your voice, or immediately from the first time you went on stage, you had your voice?
Oh, I had to unlearn everything I learned in this class, which was not a knock on the class, but it was just very generic stand-up comedy. And I was so bad for so many years. I never imagined that I would get to where I was.
So you're going on over and over again and being inconsistent. And when Katherine says she's bad, and I never saw her through these years, but I'm going to use my clairvoyance and just tell you what she means by that. What that means is that one night she bombs. The next night she does good. The next night she does good again. The next night she does mediocre. The next night she kills. The next night she bombs. Yeah. It's like this thing where you can't get your footing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much.
So keep going.
It's funny. Because I was trying to be like the other guys at the open mics. I was doing setup punchline. Atlanta.
Got it.
I was doing it was just very set up punchline.
When did you make the change?
I specifically remember it was a show in a basement of an abandoned building called Wonder Comedy, and I got up there, which is hilarious you call me positive, because it was a very dark joke about my mom passing away. And I remember I could still see it, like the spotlight was on me. It was almost like a TV show. And all of a sudden I can't see it. Of course, it's a bunch of dudes at an open mic in a basement. And I just was like, my mom passed away and I was put in charge of dressing her for the casket, which was hard because we were the same size and everything cute. I would get more wear out of it than she would. And it like got a laugh, and I couldn't tell if I was nervous to talk about my mom passing away or if it was just like it was the first thing I'd said that was kind of not written out word for word, and I just was saying something on top of my mind. And then I kind of ran with that bit about going on and on about how she got all the cool stuff, and now I got to take. I'm not gonna put away something forever. That's cute.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I know you think, and it appears dark, but I know you probably feel like if your mom was looking down, she would laugh at that bit.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think the closing bit was about asking if I could get it back afterwards or something.
Now, I have to ask you about this, and I don't have much time with you, so I've got to ask you about this. We have many things in common with death and dying, but without getting into my history. How old were you when that happened to you?
22, and I started comedy at 23. It's about 6 months later.
So you got your legs broken by life. How do you possibly get out of bed and go out and forge this career where you're getting the shit kicked out of you every night in these open mic nights in these places?
Oh, because I was getting the shit kicked out of me during the day. My mom passed, and I was working at an event center where I was doing like normal office hours and then staying every night. And I hated the job, and I hated the fact that my mom had just passed away, and I'm 22 years old now, counting down the hours, waiting for hours to end in my day, pissed off that I was like wishing part of my life away. And so I hated my job. I hated how I was spending my days. And then I would go out at night, and I didn't care if I bombed. It was also, I was hanging out with people that were fine, but my friends at the time were just kind of like finance bros who would go to a bar and do trivia. And I wasn't, it was kind of, you were just drinking away your sorrows kind of thing. Finally, I was going to an open mic and watching these, kind of freaks of life kind of create art and talk about stuff. And then you would get up and know, even if I bombed, I was like, that was so much more, that was exhilarating. That was more exciting than anything I've done in the rest of my day. So I just kept doing it.
Just tell me real quick, when do you feel you never recover? You never stop mourning. But when did you turn the corner where you said to yourself, been sad all this time, but I know if the roles were reversed and I looked down and I saw my mom sad and I could have one thing to say to her, I'd say, hey, fuck this, celebrate my life and stop this bullshit. When did you make that decision?
I think it was when this, I'm just going to be totally honest, which it feels almost kind of like a dirty thing to say. But it was the Tonight Show, which is so crazy because my first set, I talk about my mom passing away. And I don't think I would be doing comedy. I'd probably have some day job that I was miserable at had she been alive. And I wasn't like, well, you can die at any point. Might as well keep doing stuff you like, because I quit my job when I first started doing open mics and became a nanny during the day so I could have flexibility. And I remember, I think that's also probably why I was laughing, because I was just like, what are the chances that my life would turn out this way? But going out on the Tonight Show and being like, after all these years, and now I'm on the Tonight Show stage telling a funny story about my mom, I just was like, and knowing my mom had a bit of hard time in life. She had a hard time in a marriage where she was kind of put down a lot. And I felt like I was kind of living this life also for her, where I made my own choices and made my life for me and not for somebody else. And yeah, I was proud of me and her in that moment.
Amazing. Your biggest disappointment in show business and how you used it to fuel yourself to the next level.
Biggest disappointment in show business? was man, I'm trying to I how do I say? Oh, do I want to say this? I remember when I first started, I was dating another comic at the time, and he would constantly tell me how bad I was because I wasn't doing this and this and this because this is how he did it, etc. And I remember just constantly trying to keep up with the way how he was paced and how he wrote jokes, and I was always failing at it. And eventually we broke up, and I would go on stage, and then I would just start talking about how I felt about the breakup, and then I was just kind of getting into my own rhythm of things. And I was like, why? It was kind of what we were talking about before. I was like, why have I been trying to play somebody else's game? It's very small. It wasn't on a big scale. I was still doing shows in Atlanta. But when I stopped trying to fit someone else's mold and just played into what was comfortable and natural for me is when things started changing.
I remember Melissa Villasenor when I represented her boyfriend, and he got SNL. And it's like, oh my God, he got SNL, and they broke up, and then he sort of dissipated and she got SNL.
Yeah.
It's a long race.
It's a long race. And also, one thing can make you, and some things that you feel like could make you and you don't do well, you realize that wasn't your moment. That wasn't your time to shine yet.
What advice do you have for the young comedian who grows up in an area that's not necessarily the greatest situation for comedy, and then starts comedy and has the living shit kicked out of them by losing one of the core pieces of their whole existence, and then figures out that she's got a break to do something and has no preparation hardly ever to do it, and then to come through and have the kind of career that you're having?
Wake up every day and treat comedy like a 9 to 5. It's kind of how I look at it. Like, just because you don't have anything on the books for Tuesday, be your own boss, and do things every day to make one step close, get somewhere further in your career. Don't do stuff on the after hours, in the off hours. Wake up early. Does that make sense?
Every time I want to say something, I feel like there's
say
another
it,
thing.
Say it. I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
Me.
It's good. It's awesome.
Yeah. Be your own motivation. I think discipline gets people a lot farther than talent.
Awesome. Katherine Blanford, this has been wonderful. I'm so grateful to you for coming.
Thank you.
True to form, like the Tonight Show, I literally, you reached out to me, and within 24 hours we're sitting next to each other.
I love it. I can't believe I forgot to text you back.
Oh, it's all good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.